Welcome everybody in for another Nice Job live chats. And some of you in the audience may notice we were doing this from our main Facebook page. It'll also be in our Nice Job Heroes user group. You'll also be able to find it in the Quality Driven Software user group as well. If you're watching on the replay, whether it's YouTube or on our audio version on our podcast, welcome into the Nice Job podcast, another Nice Job live chat. I always say I'm excited for our guests just because I'm that type of personality, and I'm excited to talk and learn and help business owners however I can. But this one in particular, I've had an opportunity to talk a couple of times with my guest today, but we've never quite had a deeper conversation. It was a trade show, I think in January, that we came across one another. I was on one of her streams, which I'll talk about in a bit. So we've had some conversation. This time it's one-on-one. It's getting deep into what we want to talk about, but also there's some news that some of our fans of both her company and our company here have been waiting on, and we're finally going to get to that point where we're going to say, all right, what you've been waiting for, it is finally here. If you don't know, it is Martha Woodward from Quality Driven Software. Martha, it's finally here. We had a chance not only to talk to one another, but as I mentioned, teasing a little bit of a big announcement coming soon.
Right, right. No, I have been teasing the quality driven group. There's a few people who I know have guessed what it is, and they're just beating down doors. So yeah, I'm excited for our chat, but I'm excited for our announcement too.
And I think the reason we're both excited for the announcement is there's a lot of things that we do within our companies and things like that, things we get excited about. But this one I think is truly believe, no like hyperbole here, that we're think is going to be a big, huge advantage to small business owners that are familiar with both of our companies, but even if they're not, when they now come into the umbrella, no matter who they sign up with first, so to speak, there's now an option. I think that's as far as I want to tease it for now, and still keep a little cookie still to go. But first, for our audience that's not generally familiar, Martha, I kind of want to know a little bit more about you. You don't have to go all the way back to this is the hospital I was born in, but let's take us right before the quality driven age. Kind of what led you towards that path? What was the first step towards that path, and how did this all come about?
Well, it's funny when you mentioned hospital, I thought, how do you know I worked in a hospital? Worked in a hospital for like 20 something years as a physical therapy director and so forth. But anyway, I had some wild hair that I wanted to start my own business. I picked a maid service, knew nothing about the maid service other than I liked having a clean home when I came home from work, but picked the maid service. Long story short, figured out that managing employees in the maid service was nothing like working with my professional, you know, licensed employees at the hospital. And I found out that I could not let it be a govern yourself kind of situation. It didn't work. And anyway, through lots of pain and suffering, I started getting some accountability in my maid service. And because I needed data to run, these accountability measures, that's how Quality Driven was born. I've been surveying our clients for a long time, 10 years. But what we were doing is we were painstakingly taking the data and putting it in Excel spreadsheets to run the pay for performance programs I wanted to run. And so Quality Driven was born. And then through Quality Driven, it's just evolved that I now work with people around pay for performance, just culture in general. And, you know, just kind of helping people see that when you start holding people accountable, and really what I mean is just boundaries that people know to work with, then a lot of good things start happening. And people are scared of it. And I get it,
Yeah.
but I also know it doesn't get better until you start doing some of that.
And you touched on it a bit of the two, not the two sides, but the two elements of it. It's, gathering that data, but then actually have it in a usable sort of format, not
Right.
overly raw, on both sides, because collecting that data, as you very well know, with NiceJob, our big thing is it shouldn't be hard for the customer to leave a review. We're going to make it incredibly easy for you to request a review, but it shouldn't be hard for the customer to leave the review. Same thing with quality driven. We want to make it, or you want to make it as easy as possible to be able to produce and gather any of the feedback you need, but it shouldn't be a headache or an obstacle for the customer as well. How hard was that to really develop something that was kind of good on both ends? Because from the review side, it was looking to make sure they're logged in, or this, it was a couple of big things. But I have to imagine asking a customer a question to get the correct sort of response for the business owner had to be kind of a little bit of a mind hurdle there. What was your thought process in going in and trying to develop something that was simple on both sides of the equation?
Well, there are a lot of tools out there. In fact, most CRMs have some type of simple survey tool built into them. But the real problem was that you would send that out and you would ask for feedback, but then it's hard to follow up on that feedback when it's not coming back in an organized way. And the other thing is, most survey, whether it's through CRM, SurveyMonkey, whatever, will let you rate, and put some comments probably, but the real secret sauce is we want that to be attached to the employees who are on that particular job. And we also give the clients the chance to be able to tell us where we need to improve by just little check boxes. And our users determine what they want those areas to look like. I mean, because like you, we have people who use us that are in maid service and lawn care and window cleaning. And, so we don't make up those areas. The QDS user makes up those areas. But you are right, Sean, in that, we have people who ask us, well, can I do a multi-question survey? And the answer is no, not with quality driven, because the idea is you're going to survey after every job. I mean, you don't have to, but that is really what we feel is best practice, because our software is really about the employee accountability piece and seeing trends. And so if you're only taking a sample every quarter or something, unless you never switch out your staff, which would be pretty hard, then you don't really know. You don't really know, was it that very last job that earned you that 5-star, or was it, an overall, you just don't know. So we made something that takes, I always tell our maid service clients that it will take you less than 30 seconds to respond. Just let us know how we're doing. And, we have a whole sales pitch on why it's beneficial to the client. And the main thing that we say is, you don't want your service to start out good and then go downhill, which happens so much in especially a regular recurring service. And with us keeping a pulse on things and you just saying, yeah, it was excellent, it was good, whatever, then we can tell, because at QDS, it will say, even if there's a score drop from excellent to good, and we can know.
Yeah.
So
and you touched on the trends. I think it would be a huge thing, because if you are putting, just say based on your competition, you're doing world-class work, you're doing excellent. you still want to keep that level of service. And
Right.
so, maybe it's not a full drop like you might see in a review where someone says, oh, it's
Mhm.
5 stars, but because like this one little thing was different, I'm knocking it down to a 4 or a 3.
Mhm.
You touched on that changing out your staff is probably going to happen, but even if you do have some consistency within your staffing, I would believe being able to see those trends would allow you to get ahead of things, or especially if you're doing things like new service or changing some protocol, you kind of can see how it's reflecting within the staff, which may not show up for the end review product, so to speak, but the survey will kind of dive down and get that. And you
Right.
talk about performance pay. When I first came to NiceJob, I came from a different industry. Performance pay was something I kind of generally learned and kind of, learned how it was about and kind of saw the effectiveness of it.
Mhm.
Can you just touch a little bit on, kind of performance pay and why necessarily if someone's not doing it, why it's probably a good thing to institute, and how it can be effective overall for everyone involved?
Right. So I feel like I came about performance pay fairly organically. So at the hospital I was at, absolutely was not based on performance. And in fact, it was really kind of secretive pay. you know,
Yeah.
if we really needed a therapist, then they got offered some higher rate than somebody who maybe was there years. And I hated that. So I like transparent pay and I like performance based pay. And for me, what I couldn't stand is when I would have two employees and, be writing a paycheck or maybe even their vacation pay. Because now I'm not in Canada, I'm in Oklahoma. But even our paid PTO is earned,
Mhm.
not given. So even that is performance related. But I just personally hated two employees. One's a rock star, one busts their butt and, does everything right. And then one skirts by and thankfully back in the day where I kept people longer than I should, I saw the inequality. And when I saw the inequality, but I saw kind of the equality of pay, that's when that was an aha moment for me that this isn't right. If I was that rock star employee who's always covering for this kind of subpar employee, I would be ticked that I'm getting about the same pay. So that's kind of when I shifted everything. And even our production bonuses are, yes, that's a performance indicator, but it's also always tied to quality. And so for me, I just think it raises the bar.
Mhm.
And you and you've probably seen this too, that if you happen to get the wrong person in your company and you have performance-based pay, the wrong person will never fit that culture.
Mhm.
And they will feel like they're a victim and, everything is against them and so forth. And they'll complain about your system and they will leave.
Yeah.
And I'm totally okay with that. I used to have to fire people all the time, but with these type of systems in place, the system weeds them out before I ever have to deal with them.
Yeah, and it's the employees that tend to think of performance-based pay as punitive aren't your performers, and
Right.
it goes right along the name, like it's performance-based pay. And you touched, if you have that rock star, you want them to feel like they are earning as much extra as they possibly can, because even when they get to perhaps the ceiling of what you can do, they know they're at their best, and then that's a better conversation to have to figure out how can you reward more because you have someone that's completely going, completely knocking the doors off, complete rock
Right.
star there. But it's funny to go back to it. It's funny that people think it's punitive tend to be those that are underperforming because
Mhm.
that's whenever we talk to small business owners about that sort of thing, like, well, isn't it punishing the bad people? And not directly, but the people that aren't performing, yes, will feel the effects, but you're going to feel the effects if you have a staff through of people that don't perform at the top level. Is there anything else along that same scale that you think that was I don't know, it's like a changer for you, but kind of a big flip? Because you've been very kind of open of like when you first came in, you thought you're going to be this great leader, and it knocked you back a bit. Was there anything else that you kind of knew you had to change, or an expectation you had that turned out to be completely different?
Yeah, there have been several learning lessons, but I mentioned having boundaries. Um, a big aha moment for me was um, I, there for a little bit, I had people just running amok, and basically the staff was calling the shots and not me, which is, if you know me, that's really not my personality. But I felt a victim because I was feeling like I've got to have them to do the jobs, and they've been absent umpteen million times, but I can't fire them because I need them. And so, it kind of took this one employee telling me what she was and wasn't going to do for me to have that light bulb moment of what the heck is going on here? Like, who's in charge? And then I I thought, clearly not you. And that really was the defining moment when I thought, all right, I have rules, policies, and procedures, but I am not adhering to them, and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And so, because they knew it, they were just doing whatever the heck they wanted. And the company, and the clients were to suffer for it. And so, once I drew the line in the sand and really understood that I was at the source of the problems we were having, yeah, sure, it was painful because I did have to fire some people. And I did start making some choices about, I always call it, well, from Michael McAllicott's book, Pumpkin Plan, but I started pumpkin planning some clients and thought, listen, I need stability. I need people I depend on. And it gives me a good excuse. These people that are underpriced, that don't want to pay more, and da da da. I just drew the line in the sand and started dealing with the problem of you have to follow the policies and procedures. And I tell people, if you can't follow them, you need to rewrite them. And because loose policies that you follow every time are so much better than policies that you're very inconsistent with, because then you have just wiped out the trust in the company.
And once you start losing trust within your company, it's downhill from there. That's the biggest hole you can get in your boat that's going to sink your ship
Yeah.
really quickly. And so once you draw a line, you establish it. It's now about kind of our deeper talk about reviews and surveys. It's about seeing the effectiveness of the boundaries that you're setting. Finding the
Mhm.
execution going on that. And I don't know how often you kind of get the question, but of just like our topic is like, what's the difference between a review and a survey? Like high level, what is your answer to that general question before we dive a bit deeper?
So a lot of our users come in thinking that they're one and the same.
Hmm.
And um, I say a survey is about just how are we doing? It is a pulse on our service. And then a review is someone that wants to publicly acknowledge our level of service, whether that be good or bad. But, for me, a survey is internal gathering of data, and the review is the public recognition of how we're doing.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And that's whenever we kind of get that same question, our next thing, and I know you do the same, is when you talk about that's why you need both because nice job doesn't participate in this and everything like that, but the topic of almost like review gating of, well, if they
Yeah,
like it you send them here, if they don't this way. What
right.
this does, that it's I don't say a natural sort of way, but what it does, it allows your customers to give direct feedback, through a survey. You have that great monitor there. And if they're at that excited level, or, even the other angle, they want to, that's when they announce it to the world. And that's why they work so great in tandem, because I guarantee if you have, like quality driven in place and you're getting surveys and they know they're giving detailed feedback, that probably shows in their 5-star review as well. They now know what's important to you because they've kind of already been asked about it. And that's what they're going to be shouting from the rooftops. That's what they're going to be posting all over Google, Facebook, or anything like that. So, do you find, your opinion, that having kind of both, or at least just starting with the survey part, that it kind of also educates the customer a bit of what you're looking for as a company, like what level of service you want to provide, but then, also what type of topics they should bring up if there is an issue?
Yes, for sure. And people are really afraid to survey. It's the I don't want to bug my clients. And I get that because one of our core values is no hassle.
Mm-hmm.
But I talk to people and say, when they tell me that, I'm like, so we're okay with delivering a lower quality of service because you really don't know what you're delivering right now. And when we started surveying, I mean, I knew it wasn't great because it was in that time where, I was just trying to get everything under control. And I remember when I started asking, like at that point in time, I hated answering the phone for a current client because if they're calling, it probably was not good, but I still knew I had to ask. And I still knew I had to get the metrics on where are we at now. And then with that, what you see, or what you should see if you're doing things right, is you should see that number climbing. And then over time, that number plateaus, you know what your norms are, and then you can act on that. But absolutely, like if we don't send out a survey now, somebody, our clients will say, hey, I didn't get my survey. And when they mention us in a review, one of the things they say often is, I love how they ask after every visit how they did. So they know we're being vulnerable by saying, okay, how did we do?
Yeah.
Because we could charge them the very same amount and not ask. So
And then
they
also,
like it.
we work with a lot of different industries, both Nice Job and quality driven software. And there's some industries where the service they provide uh, is almost, I'm gonna say, like always similar. So it's like always the same physical task, so to speak. And
Mhm.
I would guess that when you're kind of asking a survey after every time, it adds a little bit more personalization, that this wasn't invoice number blank, blah, 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 blank. This wasn't John or ever,
Right.
like this was this client at this home, or this business or something like that. And I think that would, for on the customer side of it, you'd feel like every time out was the same, that you almost were never being taken for granted. And I think the
Yep.
more, you think about it's a hassle. When you sit at a restaurant, I don't know how many times you get the server that comes back a moment after they left down your food and say, hey, how's everything going? And you're like,
Mhm.
well, nothing's really changed in the 2 minutes you're here. It's going good. But that kind of starts that of like, what, if there was an issue at that point, they're able to nip it in the bud, like, oh, I actually asked for no lettuce or something like that. But then
Mhm.
also, I may not get to that level where I would say, like, you know what, I'm calling, the server back. But I might
Mhm.
make the decision not to go back to that restaurant. So it's
Right.
that key thing, because they asked, I would be willing, and because they could now fix it, or because even if everything's good, I know that at least checking in on me and not just treating me like any other table, that it gets that little personalization. I think that grows that overall, culture feeling of, we do strive for excellence. It's not just a tagline. Is there
Right.
anything that I guess there is something that would determine a good survey versus a bad survey, but What's kind of the best way to survey clients to almost not be too general, but then also to not make it that it's too specific or too much of a burden? Is there a sweet spot, or is it different per industry really?
We really just recommend, uh, it is fairly generic, and in
Mhm.
that it's asking, please rate your last service, or how did we do? It's a simple question. And then we have the emoticons. You can have pretty generic emoticons, or you can have the more funny ones, or we have holiday ones. And if all the client wants to do is open up that how did we do survey and then click whatever their response is, that's all they have to do. The data is recorded at that time. But they do get taken to a second page where they can put in comments if they want. And then they can also, if they gave you what's called a failing score, which our users determine what they want their failing score to be.
Yeah.
When the client hits a failing score, then the client is asked those questions on, basically, oops, where did we screw up?
Yeah.
Where, what needs to be improved? um, but like, I own a survey company, and I don't typically fill out surveys for restaurants or hotels or this or that. But when it's a service that I'm going to be getting, multiple times, like if
Yeah, like on a
I'm
regular
part of
basis.
a package deal, or, they're going to be coming back in 2 weeks, it gives them a very easy line of communication. And not a line of communication, like they're not going to go communicate, hey, everything was great, but next time, can you make sure to grab the trash bags under the sink? They're not going to go put that on a review.
Hmm.
So they would put it on a survey. And then when they get that review follow up, then that's when they say, I've been using this company for 2 years and da 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 da. So we're just a line of communication, and, a pulse on how happy you are. And like I say, we watch it to just any type of score drop, even it goes on the client watch list. But the review is them marketing for us and letting people know how much they love, hopefully not hate, our business.
And you said it earlier in the conversation. It's internal and external. So it's
Mhm.
the same thing. The exact example you used is the small little detail that they definitely want to pass along will probably come through, on the survey level. But then when they want to, refer their friends and family, when they want to tell everyone on their Facebook page, through a review, post on Google through a review, they're kind of going to hit that high level, great, parts of it. And
Right.
I would almost think, like I said, almost that natural sort of thing of they start to realize where the feedback should go, and it turns in your reviews that you're going to use for your external marketing. Your if you're automating the social media through NiceJob or something like that, all that stuff that's going out publicly, you're going to get the right feedback there. But then internally for your performance pay or your performance reviews or anything like that, you now have that almost second set of data from really one linear feedback channel.
Right.
And that's why I think we're at the time. I think we're finally there to kind of say it. And Martha, because I know you've been at it longer than I have, I want to give you the honors to tell what people can expect from both quality driven software and NiceJob.
Okay. Well, people have asked, and we can finally say that Quality Driven has partnered with NiceJob. And so here's how it's going to happen, at least in the first phase. And I hope that we even build it out even further. But we, Quality Driven, will do the survey. And then that information, if you use both of us, you're connected, and that information will pass over to NiceJob. So NiceJob won't have to survey the customer first. they're just going to start following up, trying to get that review. And that's a beautiful thing, because we have people who love both of us.
Yep.
And they've been surveying both places, and they didn't want to drop quality driven because they wanted the data and the employee performance reporting, but they absolutely also wanted, the review gathering. And when we first started quality driven initially, we thought we could do both. We thought we could add that follow up, and we dabbled in it, and we do have a little bit of a thing where they can, have a landing page and so forth. But sometimes people come to us and they're like, I thought you were going to be getting reviews. And for years now, I have said, kind of like when I started the maid service, and I was like, whoa, okay, something has to change. Same for quality driven. Early on, we realized this stuff changes day to day, and you clearly need to be experts in review gathering, and we are not. That's not the business that we're in. And so we absolutely stopped trying to develop any of that years ago, even before we ever started talking. But that's why we've always known we needed to partner with a review platform. And I know that I bugged Lars for a while, and I was like, I didn't ever bug any other company, to tell you the truth, any other review platform. And because, and certainly not to name names, but review platforms can be too aggressive for me, and they don't fit the culture, and it's hard to partner with somebody that you just ethically don't feel like that is the relationship that you want to say, oh, absolutely, we definitely recommend them, when you're thinking, okay, they lock you in a contract for a year and you don't like them, and all of those things. So I'm very pleased that we could team up, and I think we're both offering an incentive. Like, if you use quality driven and you want to add NiceJob, you all have a discount code they can use. And then same, if they use NiceJob but not quality driven, we have a coupon code.
Yeah, so we're the nitty gritty on that. I know my partnerships manager Curtis Davey is probably tightening a bit, because he knows that I sometimes will slip a bit on a small detail. So the coupon codes, things like that, we will have this all on an official channel. But we wanted to announce like the excitement of this integration finally come together, because as you can say, we focus on the review element of it. One of the reasons that we are a reputation marketing leader, if not the leader, is because that's our kind of our sole focus. But we've also, through things like our NiceJob podcast and other leadership things that we've done, we talk about the need to have surveys and have internal feedback, and to have the performance pay and all that. And so it's a really great match, because both of us won't overextend, for lack of a better term, and allow us, and then it gives you, the business owner, two dedicated things. And even going, not to, I'll throw just a random name in general, but going straight all the way through. So say someone like a ZenMaid, or a CRM that you might be using, you can now start to see, with all these integrations coming together, is all that data being shared straight through. So even though you might be having a CRM quality driven and NiceJob, it's not like it's three spinning plates you're going to take care of. This integration is going to allow that information that needs to go seamlessly through software to go instantly, go quickly. So you're going to be able to have your surveys go, and then have your automated review request from NiceJob, collect it, go back for your social media, and who knows, within 10 days of a customer, you're going to have a 5-star review that's posted on your Facebook, posted on your Google. You're going to have all the data you need for everyone that worked on that job, and all the jobs for that month, things like that. It's really exciting. And I will, on Lars's behalf, I will, well, thank you for bugging him. I'll thank you on our behalf for that one. But we 100% agree that the one thing about this integration is that it's from a culture standpoint, from an individual standpoint of what these companies represent. I think that's why both of our fan bases were pounded down our doors because
Yeah.
this is two companies that have the same sort of wavelength of trying to make you the best business you can be, but doing it the right way with compassion and care and effectiveness. All three of those kind of have to go together. So we are excited about it. I know further down the line, there's you talk about this is kind of stage one. There's going to be kind of some more improvements. I know kind of on both ends to really build this up, but later down the line, we want to do a deep dive, a little integration exploration, and show people exactly when we get the pedal to the metal. So it's in beta now. I know you have some testers. I know we're kind of getting everything together, but it's as here as it's ever been, really. But for all the one that comes to mind is the Megan likes out there. It's happened. We're out there.
Yeah, I'm sure she's watching or will watch. I spent all of last week with her, and she saw over, looking over to my laptop, she saw some things and she was like, is it? So,
Yeah.
But, it's funny because you either get business owners that want an all-inclusive CRM and they want that CRM to do everything, or you get business owners that understand, just like I understood, quality driven couldn't be both a leader in employee performance data and review management system. We couldn't be both because I couldn't keep the eye on the ball on both, nor did I want to. But when people think, well, I'll just send the surveys out from my CRM and then I'll just ask for the reviews, I'll have some automation ask for the reviews. I mean, it doesn't work terribly, but you're asking to like a one size fits all solution. And so you're going to get mediocre results. And that's what I like about the partnership is that you're going to get top results from us and top results from you because we're both operating in our specialty.
Exactly. And the analytics that you'll get, the data you're going to get with specialists going after it's way better. I've made the joke before. I'm not sure if you have any siblings, but it's kind of like getting a hand-me-down. Like it works. It's one size fits, the 13-year-old in the family.
Right.
But how much better does it feel when you have something that fits you, for you?
Right.
So we are beyond excited about it. And as I kind of teased a bit further, as we kind of get through the beta and we roll out full steam, we absolutely want to get together again and really explore this because just in my time at NiceJob, it's a couple days over a year now. One of the first questions I got at a trade show was about partnering with quality driven software. And this is before I really had any idea. I was on the job maybe like a couple of weeks, still trying to, gather fully what we do, and heard about that. And it's been every time since. When we saw each other at ResponsiCon, I know it wasn't Curtis there, it was myself there. So it's kind of, that was a little bit more of an introduction through there. But we're really excited about it. Like not with any integration partner. This one in particular was because I think of the long build. Mm-hmm. We are also, I'll put it out there, we're very meticulous to make sure that it's exactly, what it needs to be.
Right.
So for all those who are patiently waiting, thank you so much for patiently waiting. It is here and as we kind of go, but this is merely a V1. There's plans in the works, which I don't want to say on both sides, but there's plans in the works that's really going to, if you're using quality driven and NiceJob in its own right together, them coming together is going to be, huge.
It'll be huge. We just came off huge, but it's going to be huge.
Exactly. Well, Martha, I honestly think you and I could, talk for days, and perhaps when a little bit later on, a couple months down the road, as we get a little bit more built in, love to kind of, pick your brain about company culture, performance pay. Look Martha up if you're wondering about any of those things. If you haven't done a deep dive on it, some real great topics. And also, I want to give a small shout out to Fight Club for Business, which Megan likes to mention part of. Michelle Myers, Taylor Maroney. I think I've had every Fight Club for Business member on the podcast now at this point.
Oh, good,
And
good.
you all were kind enough to invite me on, but another great resource out there, along the Nice Job podcast, things like that. But really love the opportunity. I got a chance to talk to you and deep dive, and even more honored they got to be part of this huge announcement.
Thank you, Sean. And I'll go in the user group and post the details.
Yeah, so we'll have more details to come. If you're watching this on the replay and you have any questions, something like that, leave a comment down below. If you're listening on the podcast, send a message to either of us, and we'll kind of get you the information you need, because it's exciting, and we can't wait to roll it out in full. So if you're just joining in the last moment here of the podcast, yes, quality-driven software and NiceJob integration is happening in beta right now. That's coming forward. So. Again, thank you once again for taking the time to join me today, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon. And we also look forward to seeing all of our collective fan bases finally become one big fan base.
For sure. All right. Thanks so much, Sean.
Awesome. Take care, Martha. And for all of you out there, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Nice Job Live Chats and the Nice Job Podcast. As always, I hope you're staying safe out there. I hope you're staying healthy. And remember to have a little fun as well. Take care, everybody.